Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the history of the Gleasman family. Approximately 7 or 8 Gleasman brothers came across from Germany to the United States around in the late 1600s. They spread out from the east coast, which was New York, to the west coast. Some of their ancestors were bodyguards to the King of Germany. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can find that information in that book about the king, the bodyguards, right?
No.
No, that's about the regiment.
That's it.
See, we'll keep all of it on there and just talk. And the picture you're looking at is Vic Gleasman when he was about 28 years old, 27, 28 years old. And then, let's see. He was born on August 20th, 1882, in the town of Ava. He's from German and French descent. Ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And she told you about he came over with 7 or 8 brothers, but there was how many in his family?
Well, his father's, these would have been his father's brothers.
Oh, that would have been his father's brothers?
Yeah.
And then how many was in Grandpa Vic's family?
10.
10 children?
10 children. 6 girls and 4 boys.
And they all were born here in the United States then? Oh. Where was Grandpa born? In the town of Ava?
He was born in the town. His father, I don't know where they were born.
Huh.
They were born over here somewhere, I assume in the town of Ava. But I don't know. I don't know where his father and mother was born.
Huh.
Go.
On Tuesday, September 17th, 1862, at the Battle of Antietam, on the Antietam Creek, 2 Gleasman brothers died side by side in a cornfield, shot by the same sharpshooter. Both belonged to the 97th Regiment from Boonville, New York. About 15,000 men and boys volunteered, and they had 8 New York volunteer regiments. This would be found in a book called The Boys in Blue from the Adirondack Foothills by Howard Thomas, a local author.
This is the same Vic Gleasman with his first wife, Josephine, and they were married on November 6, 1907, in the town of Boonville, New York. And that's their firstborn son, Alton Arthur Gleasman, born on February 23rd, 1909. And he's also my dad.
Right.
That's the thing. And his mother had bright red hair, and so did my father, and that's why he was nicknamed Red. His mother also had black eyes.
Coal black eyes. Outside.
Coal black. And she was Irish descent. And let's see here. She died on September 26, 1914, at the age of 24, when my father was 5 years old. She died of a disease called Bright's disease, something to do with the kidneys. But she proceeded to have 2 more children before she died, and we'll show you them in a minute. And my father was 24 inches long when he was born. He was half grown.
Long baby.
And he's about a year old here.
I would say just less than a year, I think. Just a little bit under
big.
by the size of him, but year, give or take a year.
No, that's all right. Now this is a picture of, oops, sorry. This is a picture of my father, Alton Gleasman, and his sister, Alma.
Not sure of the ages,
but she was born in 1910, and he was born in 1909, so there's only that much difference between them. And
there still is one more child
to be born.
To be born.
And that would be Carl. In the next picture, we'll have him. But Alma was adopted
by a family by the name of Oosters that
after
were
her mother died.
cousins to her. After her mother died, she was about 5 years old when she was adopted into the Oster family. In between then, she was kind of passed from one person to another. We do not know who.
Good.
This is Carl, the youngest, Alma, the next, and Red, or Elton, the oldest, of the children of Victor Gleasman and Josephine Fralla.
And at this time, probably, right, Josephine died. She passed away now because Carl was only 6 months old when she died, and she died on September 26, 1914. So Grandpa was left with 3 kids.
3 children.
And a wife who passed away.
Right.
And he really didn't know what to do with 3 little kids.
No. Well, they were apparently went to their grandfathers, as far as I can assume. And Dana Fralla, which was his grandfather, on his mother's side, adopted Carl. But he did not adopt Elma. And Victor kept Elton.
My father.
Your father.
And Alma was adopted by the Oster family.
Oster family.
But now, in between here, too, somewhere when Grandma died, Grandma Josephine, then Grandpa went to Florida.
Right. He went down in an open touring car. And a Ford open, what they used to call an open touring car. And he stayed down there. I don't know. He stayed, and I think he came back in the spring. He tried to get in the Army, and they wouldn't take him because he had a bad heart. So he went to Florida. That was World War I.
Do you remember where it was that she died, where they were living, or where?
As far as I know, it was up in Clearwater, what they call Clearwater, which is somewhere in Old Forge.
Is there still a Clearwater, do you know?
It may be what they call Findera area now or something like that. That's as much as I know about that. I mean, they didn't, he never said that much about that. It was.
And what did
she died in his arms. At the time she died in his arms. She was sick from what they called then Bright's disease. And I assume they didn't know very much about it. She didn't want to take any medicine because she knew that she couldn't live. And she died right in his arms. And she told him that he should get married again whenever he wanted to. Okay, now this is the family that adopted Elma after she was 5 years old. And their name, I believe, is Seymour and Anna Oster. They also have a boy on the right-hand side, which is Glenn Oster, formerly Glenn Satterley. They were cousins on the Fralla's side of the family.
And this is really probably, I don't remember ever seeing her.
No, you wouldn't have. She
or,
died, I don't know when she did die. She remarried, he did die, and she remarried a guy by the name of Wilkerson, which is the stepfather that put Alma through Cornell University and also the University of Nursing from Rochester, from what I've gathered from information.
But at this time, do you think she had lost track of anybody up here?
She never had no knowledge of anybody of her father's side of the family. They never told her anything. She never had no pictures. She did hear, after a few years, that she did have a half-sister. She knew that she had a brother, Elton, and she knew that she had a brother, Carl, but they were strangers to her. That's what she told me in her letter, the first one I ever got from her.
And where did these people live?
Camden, New York.
How did she get to Long Island then?
No, she just must have found a job or got trained and found a job.
I always thought that's where she lived when she was young.
She only lived down there when she worked there.
Oh, so she only lived in Camden, New York?
She lived in Camden. She went through Camden High School. She graduated from Camden High School.
But never saw her father or her brothers again?
There was no connection.
She did see Carl.
She did contact Carl once in a while through Old Forge. That they used to go up to Old Forge to Danny Frawley's.
Which would be his grandfather that adopted him.
Yes, and on her mother's side, yes. Okay, this is Alma about the time or right after her graduating from high school, which was Camden High School. She's, give or take, probably 17 years old.
And she does look like her mother.
Yeah, she sure does look like her mother. She's a nice looking girl. She was known as to be a good nurse.
And didn't she teach school or something? You said
They said she was a school teacher and nurse. Now, just how that combined, I don't know. But she was a school teacher and a nurse. And the next picture coming up will show her in a nurse's uniform. And at the beginning of the Second World War, she did join the service. She stayed 1 or 2 years in service.
As a nurse?
As a nurse. This is Alma at the time she graduated from Rochester University. Before she did graduate, she came down with TB, and she was out of work for a year. And then she went, I believe, to Long Island after she got well.
When she had TB, though, she was at Broadacres?
She got TB from Broadacres, working at Broadacres.
Working at Broadacres, but there was a TB sanitarium. Mm-hmm. Did she stay there?
That's where she got it from the people there, what she was training.
Did she stay there to recuperate, or?
No, she went home, wherever they called home, she went home, probably to Oster's.
It's funny, isn't it, that she wouldn't stay at that. I mean, people came from all around to stay at Broadacres because it was a TB. No, and then she went home.
She went home. Then she went back into nursing. And then she went into service from there. And she's not very old there, but I'm not sure just what she was when she graduated. There's something more we'd like to add to this. No one has seen her, including myself, at all. And I don't know how, I just want to say it. You have to let me think. Her stepbrother that was mentioned in the picture before had married and died, and the obituary was in the Rome Sentinel, and it gave me an address as to where she was, which said Green Valley, Arizona.
Yeah.
That was probably 15, 16 years ago. I neglected to pick it up. Last summer, in the summer of 1991, I made connections with my half-sister. We have never seen each other at all. She will be 82 years old in May.
And none of us have ever seen her, or she never came back and knew her father.
No, she never knew she had a blood relative family back here. Nobody ever told her. Nobody ever gave her any pictures. Nobody seemed to want her to know where we were. And
but now she does want to know.
Yeah, now she does want to know. And everyone thought that she was stuck up, but she wasn't. She was just figured she wasn't really accepted. My name is Leona Gleasman, the last daughter of Victor Gleasman by the second wife. This picture coming up is my mother, Viola Kessler, age 19 at the time. Her and my father were married on October 16, 1929 in Rome. She was, at that time, 36 years of age. The one in the pictures I said was 19.
And Grandpa was how old?
He was 47. My father was 47 at the time he married my mother when she was 36.
How old was she when you were born?
37.
37?
Mm-hmm. The first and only one.
I was going to say, you were the only child.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything more in there?
I think that's probably all right. Well, now you let's see.
And you were born, Aunt Leona was born on September 13th, 1930.
Mm-hmm. Right. That'll be coming up.
You ready?
Yes, I already given information,
Okay.
but I'll put in just a...
Is this when they got married?
This is when they got married. Is it set to go? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, now this one is of Victor and Viola, his second wife, that I just said was October 16, 1929. She was 36 there, and he was 47. And they lived in Ava on a farm. He was a carpenter and a cheesemaker. And he was a good carpenter and a cheesemaker.
And didn't it say somewhere they bought Frank Sassenberry farm?
In 1930 they purchased the Frank Sassenberry farm, which is on the West Ava Road. Still is there. Been bought by previous latter owners.
That's the only home I ever knew Grandpa Nola to have.
No, that's well, I don't know. I don't know if he ever owned any property anywhere else. I think that was the first place he owned, the last place he owned.
Wasn't he also, didn't Grandpa Vic have some kind of medicine man in him or something, herbs?
He was, yeah. He used to travel with an Indian that, well, knew all his herbs, because the Indians always knew the herbs anyway. And he did. He learned all his herbs and what they were for. And we got... If he was sick, you got the shot of herbs.
Yeah, I remember one
they wasn't
black
good
thing.
They wasn't good tasting, but they worked. And today, they're if you get the real herbs, you get the real medicine. And that's what he lived. That's what he went by. He seldom ever went to a doctor. He didn't go to a doctor, chiropractor. He didn't go
that's
to no
right.
doctor.
He believed in a chiropractor, but he didn't believe in a doctor.
Got me the same. I can go to the chiropractor and get 3 times more results than I do with the thinking doctor.
Do you ever remember what the Indian's name was?
Yeah, Doc Pine. There was a lot of people impersonated him, but he was Doc Pine, and he was around when Josephine and Dad was married. He was associating with him then, and he could predict events that would happen in the future, or something that would happen that had happened behind. He could foresee things.
Did he ever know that Josephine was gonna die?
If he did, he didn't say that, but he knew that she was. They said she had a tumor when Red was going to be born, and he told Dad the tumor was going to fall downstairs. She was expecting and didn't know it.
Oh, I was wondering what new kind of surgery or what.
No, he said, no, that's the doctors said she was going to fall downstairs. That might have been maybe some of the problems that she had that the doctors didn't know about, was when that Bright's disease came onto her. And she went to the doctor, and that's what they told her. She had a tumor. Doc Pine said, no, that tumor's going to fall downstairs. And that's when Red was born.
I wonder if there's anything ever written about him.
There was so many impersonations of the real Doc Pine. If you knew where to look, there might be, but I
And he
never
was
heard.
from over in Ava or around that
No,
way?
he was from up north in the woods. That's how Dad met him. He was friends with him up north in the woods. Yeah, he was an Indian out of the Adirondacks. He was Indian out of the Adirondacks.
Ready? Get it?
That's
Okay.
okay. This is myself, Leona Bell Gleasman, now Owens, born September 13th, 1930 in Rome. And I was 17 years of age. That's my high school picture from West Leyden High. And in 1950, February 28th, 1950, I married Harold Owens from Rome. I have 2 girls, Linda Kay Owens, what's her name? Brady, And another one, Cindy Bess Owens Cadret. Linda was born on April 25th, 1956, and Cindy was born August 31st, 1959.
You also have some grandchildren.
4 boys. Linda has 1 boy, and Cindy has 3.
Who would have ever thought? Huh?
Mm.
Did it?
So I could, yeah. Yes.
Okay, we're ready.
All right, this is Carl. We got kind of left out on this one. So this is Carl Gleasman Frala and his second wife in Baltimore. Not Baltimore. What was it?
Yeah, Baltimore, Maryland, isn't it?
Where, well, it's near Baltimore. I can't think of the Townsend. Townsend, Maryland's where his home was. He has passed away last February 1991. He has a son by his first wife, and there is no other pictures. This is the only one I was able to get.
What was his first wife's name?
First wife's name was Violet.
Violet?
I got most of my information from my niece, which is Elton's oldest daughter, Josephine, who we call Beanie.
Right. And Uncle Carl was a merchant marine, wasn't he, or a Seabee or something?
He was a merchant marine, and I guess their job is, well, he sailed around the coast. He sailed around the world quite a few times, and was always sailing around the coast. They had their own ships, and what I gathered, at one time, he was into Camden. They was working on a bridge up in the Thousand Islands, and he came down to see this lady that I saw in Camden.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I don't know if Alma's seen him there or not, but Edna remembers him coming there once. She said she saw him.
And Uncle Carl died of emphysema.
Emphysema, yeah.
Okay.
Well, which one are we on here then? Because this has moved up to another number.
This is Red.
Then you got this.
Red and Elton and Carl at Bisbee Gate.
Bisbee Gate, okay.
In Old Forge.
All right.
It's the 2 brothers grown up.
All right, well.
The lady in the middle is the lady I'm named after, Pauline. Banghart is her name?
Yeah, Banghart. You can, just because you're...
I don't really know. I don't have any idea how old they would be, or... But my father, Red, is the one on the left, and Carl is the one on the right.
They aren't very old.
No.
I would say, what, probably under 30?
Oh, yeah, it seems like
30.
it.
Somewhat under 30. There wasn't...
Yeah.
Because I didn't know him.
Bisbee Gate is in Old Forge, in case anybody doesn't know.
Oh, okay, well that's a new one, because I didn't know that.
And I think that my father and my mother's father worked at Bisbee at different times.
Well, Red was a guide there for a long time in the Adirondacks.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he was a guide in the Adirondacks, but it was when we were young, smaller. You wasn't even in existence yet, but when Beanie and Donna and I was young, he was a guide in the Adirondacks.
Oh, are you trying to tell me this is before I was born?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a funny feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're ready.
All right, this is Elton Gleasman, around the age of 35. We think taking more in Utica.
Yeah, either that or down on the Herkimer Road where Beanie first had a trailer down there. Orville Drew and his wife had some kind of tomato farm, I can remember, down there. And this is also my dad, Red Gleasman. Artie, my brother, looks just exactly like him, except Art's hair is blonde and all over his head like that.
He's not, Artie isn't quite as tall as Red.
No.
That's about the only difference. Otherwise, he's a spitting image of his dad, really.
None of us kids were as tall as Dad. Beanie and Donna were the biggest ones of the batch.
Yeah.
I think we got the short end.
Well, the Gleasmans that came over, or the Gleasmans that was on ancestors over in Germany was known to be from 6 foot up to 6'6". That's why they was bodyguards.
Oh my Lord.
They was, yeah, and some of them was humongous men, I guess. They must have kind of shrunk when they got over here or something. But
Takes a lot out of you.
Dad was a little tall. Red was just a little bit taller than Dad.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Dad was 6 foot. I think Red was 6'1" or 2". Carl,
No.
I'm not sure.
My father died when? I had that written down. It's over here. My father was born on February 23rd, 1909, and he died of a heart attack on October 3rd, 1963, at the age of 54. We lived in Utica then, and I was 16. Art was about 12, and Herbie must have been about 11 somewhere.
That's when you moved up here.
Yeah. After he died, and then Mom moved up here to camp with my two brothers because I decided to become Mrs. Hubert Wandover, remember, at the age of 16?
Who was what, postman or?
Yeah, it was the mailman in Forest Park. Okay.
That I got no recollection of just how old they'd be, but not because I was 7 months older than Beanie. Well, she looked like 12 to you, 13 maybe.
Yeah. And that's Red Elton Gleasman, my father. Bessie Stevens, his wife. Josephine May Gleasman on the left, and Donna Marie Gleasman on the right. And they were living in Old Forge then, or Thundera, somewhere up there.
And Josephine is the one that was named after her grandmother.
Dad's mother.
Right.
Yeah. And then, 14 years after Donna was born, there'll be a few more of us coming up. Next generation of Gleasmans out of Alton. Well, you can see how tall Daddy was, though.
He was tall.
Ma was short, too.
Yeah. I don't know which was the tallest, him or Carl. I assume Henry Red was, but I didn't see enough of Carl to know.
Okay.
We're going to pass on a little information here before we get to the younger generation coming up. So, Victor Gleasman, which is the father of the man in this picture, passed away on April 30th, 1991 at the age of 78. There's 71 down there, 78. Viola, his second wife, passed away March of 1977, I believe at around the age of 83. Red, which is the one in the picture that you see, passed away October 3rd, 1963 at the age of 54 from a heart attack. Carl Gleasman Fowler passed away February 1991 at the age of 78. I'm not sure exactly what day of that month. Alma is still living and resides in Green Valley, Arizona, which is about 25 miles from Tucson, south of Tucson. She's retired as a school teacher and a nurse, and has spent her time in service and worked at Broadacres. And myself is left.
Yeah. And you're trying to get in contact with her and give her Alma.
Yeah. I have made connections with her. I have received a letter from her. I have talked to her on the phone, and I've sent her some clippings of the family. I'm going to send her pictures of the family.
This one right here you're going to send her. This picture right here, one of them.
And pictures. She has no pictures or nothing. I think it's what we said before. She has no pictures or nothing. And no recollection of the Gleasman family at all. So that's my
So
next step.
you're gonna send her a Gleasman Family in a picture book.
Right. And I would like to go out to see her, but I don't know if I'll ever make it.
I figured you would.
Yeah, I'd like to just. But
What's the date today?
ooh,
Today is the 20. Today is February 23rd, 1992. And Aunt Leona and I are sitting in the dining room making this for all the rest of you to see in years to come.
okay.
We've had a really good time doing it too. I have.
Oh, this is a coincidence because it's also your father's birthday and my mother's birthday, both the 23rd of February, but different years.
Well, isn't that strange? We're going to go into coincidences
Right.
too in this family, names and numbers. Yesterday was Hubert's father's birthday, too. And I think somewhere in all these papers I saw something about one of the boys was born on somebody's birthday, too.
Oh, yeah?
Back through. I'll have to look it up.
Look that up then. Well, we're going to be coming up with more facts and dates and probably pictures and stuff.
And if you guys out there watching have anything you want to add to this Gleasman family reunion here, we sure be glad to have it.
Anywhere you hear the name Gleasman from here across the United States, one way or the other they were related. They all had pretty good sized families. They spread out across the country. No matter how they spell it, somewhere they're related. And well, we're going to pick up from where we left off. These are some side pictures I found after I got home. I come across. This is Red Gleasman, 4-generation picture of Red Gleasman, Victor Gleasman, his father, Donna Wendell, which is Red's daughter, and her little girl, Debbie.
She was going to say family reunion.
This was taken at the family reunion on the East Ava Gleasman homestead. I don't even remember the date, but I guess it doesn't matter right now. I don't remember the date. Is the date on the back, Polly? I screwed up. The date is 1956, I think in the month of August. Okay. This is the family of my father, Victor Gleasman. There's 10 in the family, plus the 2 parents. And in the front are the 3 little boys. One is Victor, one is Elmer, and on the right hand side is Uncle Herb. The father is Christian Gleasman and his wife Caroline. Yeah. This is Herbert Gleasman. In this picture you'll see that he's in a wheelchair. He was crippled by polio at the age of 11. And he made snowshoes for the army, snowshoes for people. He made violins. He was inclined to be quite musical. He made his living this way up until the time of his death. And he lived in Ava too, and he died at 78, I think, too. That's it.
See?
Also, this is Victor Gleasman, and I believe this is where he used to work up on the railroad, somewhere in the area of Fulton Chain or Thendara. At what age he is, I don't not know, but that was where he worked. That was what he worked at for quite a while until he got to be a carpenter, I guess. I don't know if he was carpenter then. He was carpenter before then or what. He probably was.
Are you taking?
I don't know. This is all I know about him.
I never knew he worked in a railroad.
Yeah, he worked on the... This is a younger picture of Victor Gleasman. I do not know what age it is, but it's probably one of the first ones taken from him. I believe it probably was taken at the fair somewhere. That's all I know about it. Well, this is Viola Gleasman, the second wife of Victor Gleasman, and it's more of a favorite picture of my mother. And I wanted everyone to see it because her wedding picture, she looked kind of sad. So I wanted you to see a little more happier picture of her. And she's about 33 years old. It was about 3 years before she married my dad. This is my father, I think, in early, between 1920, maybe back to 1918, 1920, I'm not sure of the year, in Florida, I believe on his last trip. And on his last trip, some of his partners stole most of the stuff he had.
Which one was your father? Do you remember in there, in that picture, which one?
The one on the right.
The one on the right.
The one on the right, with his hands on his hip, isn't it? Yeah, his hands on his hip.
Yeah.
The other people, I don't know who they are. That's it on that one. This is my mother and father at the Gleasman homestead at a reunion in 1956.
And who's your mom and dad?
My mother, what do you mean who's my...
How is anybody else
Oh, you want my name in it?
going to know? Yeah, or who they
Well,
are?
I figure all this time. I'm their daughter, Leona. I'm the only one that they had. And while we're at it, I'd like to make a contribution. I had a nice, good dad. I had a good mother. I also had a good sister-in-law. I appreciated them all.